Chapter 124, Running into Ian Reed. Again. The dinner spot was Ju Shun's choice, a hot pot restaurant outside a university. Business was booming. The two were lucky. When they arrived, there was just one small table left. Ava always ate very light foods, so she ordered a split pot. She only ate food cooked in the clear broth. Back when she and Ju-jun were abroad, they always loved going to Chinatown to eat domestic food. They'd shared hot pot together many times. Because of their dancing, they had to watch their diets. Before, both of them used the clear broth pot to cook their food. Now, however, Ju-shun was using the spicy oil pot. Ava had gradually gotten used to this change. "You didn't reply to any of my messages the past couple days. I was worried something happened to you," Ju-shun asked with concern. If Ava hadn't replied today, she'd been planning to go find her at the dance company. "I got married. Been a bit busy these past few days." Ava tugged at the corner of her mouth. She certainly had been busy. She hadn't had time to look at her phone. "You got married?" Ju-jun was shocked. Last time they met, Ava had told her she wanted to break up. It hadn't been that long, and Ava was already married? Not to Wesley Hale, someone else. Ju-shun didn't know Adrian, so Ava didn't say much. She only mentioned he was someone she'd known before, that he'd proposed marriage, and she'd felt it was suitable, so she agreed. "That really doesn't sound like you." The Ava she knew always prioritized her own feelings above all else. She never gave men she wasn't interested in a second glance. Ju-shun assumed Ava had been hurt by Wesley, so she'd thrown herself into the arms of someone who loved her more. Being loved was certainly easier. She didn't ask more questions. Dating and marriage are different. When you're dating, as long as you're happy, that's fine. But marriage, you have to think about your future life. He has the best conditions among all my suitors. In Ava's view, the result would be more or less the same no matter who she married. The only time she'd been foolish was with Wesley. Love couldn't last forever, but money could. She didn't know what methods Adrian had used. But now, all of Dad's shares had been transferred to her. She needed to find time to go to Hart Group and flaunt her status as the largest shareholder. Make Grace unhappy. Though Grace was a love brain, she valued Hart Group highly and had strong work abilities. After all, Philip had raised her as his heir since childhood. Now Adrian had helped her seize half of Hart Group. If Grace found out, she'd probably be so angry she'd vomit blood. If she ended up in the hospital again, Ava couldn't imagine how wonderful her days would be. "That's good." Ju-jun smiled somewhat distractedly. Ava keenly sensed something was off with Ju-shun. But then, Ju-shun actively asking her out for dinner was odd in itself. Since getting married, Ju-shun had rarely appeared. In the group chat they used to share with friends, Ju-shun rarely spoke. When Ju-shun had left the dance company, their college friends and acquaintances from the Chinese community during their time studying abroad had all felt it was a pity. At the time, everyone had asked in the group chat why it was so sudden. Ju-shun had only given a simple explanation. After everyone learned she was giving up her dance career for a shotgun wedding, quite a few people had tried to persuade her, but Ju-shun still left the company and got married. Knowing they couldn't change her mind, everyone could only offer their blessings and ask Ju-shun to invite them to the wedding. But Ju-shun hadn't held a wedding in New Harbor. It was in Luke Field's hometown. Naturally, she hadn't invited anyone. Ju-shun was someone with an inferiority complex, yet extremely strong self-respect. She was stubbornly proud in her bones. Perhaps she'd already realized that Luke Fields wasn't the right person for her. Giving up the career she'd worked on for years for this marriage wasn't worth it, but she didn't dare admit it. "How have things been with you and Luke lately?" Ava asked, trying to sound casual. Ju-shun's expression was a bit unnatural. The word fine seemed stuck in her throat. No matter what, she couldn't get it out. In the end, she just tugged at her lips. "Your daughter must be about 6 months old now, right?" Ju-shun nodded. "You could try weaning her and then finding a job. Staying at home all the time without exposure to new things, in the long run, you'll lose your work capabilities." Ava lowered her voice, speaking slowly. She didn't know if Ju-shun could take it to heart, but Ju-shun's current state was visibly haggard. Compared to their last meeting, she'd aged considerably. "But she's still so small. If I go to work, what about her?" Confusion clouded Ju-shun's eyes. Every day at home facing her daughter, her mother-in-law, and waiting for her husband who came home later and later, she knew this state wasn't good either. But her daughter was still too young. She couldn't bear to let her mother-in-law raise her. hire a nanny. Have your mother-in-law help look after the child with her?" Ava paused, then continued. "It's only been a little over a year since you left the stage. If you manage your figure and practice more, you can return to the stage and continue dancing. If you drag this out for a few more years, you might never be able to dance again." "Okay, I'll seriously consider it when I get back." Ava breathed a slight sigh of relief. She hoped Jujun would think it through this time. "Ava, that person looks so familiar." Jujun looked up toward the window. Ava turned to follow Jushun's gaze and immediately spotted Ian Reed standing out in the crowd. He wore a light gray suit, his hair impeccably styled. That wild, unrestrained air about him had completely disappeared. In its place was a maturity she'd never seen before, along with a faint sense of pressure. At first glance, Ava was quite surprised. In just 1 year, Ian had changed so much. Though she'd heard that the new business line Ian was responsible for at the overseas branch seemed to be doing quite well. When she'd first heard, she hadn't been too surprised. After all, with Samuel Reed as an older brother, if Ian got serious, he wouldn't be too shabby. Is he dating someone? A vibrant young woman ran up to stop in front of Ian. "We broke up a long time ago. It's perfectly normal for him to date." Ava withdrew her gaze, speaking flatly. Jusha nodded. She was just a bit wistful. Back when they were dating, whenever Ian wasn't in class, he'd come find Ava almost every day. He'd been completely accommodating to her. Whatever Ava said went. If she said east, he'd never go west. Such intense love had now faded too. So what about her and Luke? How long could they last?